Hello and welcome to the North Bank Podcast. I'm your host, Holly. I'm back. What have I missed, guys? Anything happening over the last week or so?
No, not much. No.
Been fairly quiet around these parts, mate.
Yeah.
I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Hi, guys.
Hello,
And you're
mate.
looking really well, Holly. You're looking
I was in
really,
Ireland. I picked up a bit of colour. What colour have I picked up, though? That's the question.
sort of pinkish.
Pink.
Kinda, but a healthy.
A healthy glow from being on the farm. Yeah.
Nothing to do with the warm light function.
I have no idea
enabled.
about which you speak. I'm running through the gamut of colours, the rainbow of colours. I've done grey. I've dabbled with blue. Now I'm in my pink. I'm in my pink phase.
Pink period, yeah.
Who knows what comes next? But that's why we keep watching. We'll find out. So obviously, I have not missed what's happened in the Champions League, but we'll try and park the Champions League as much as we possibly can, although it's quite difficult to even view the Ipswich game and the upcoming Palace game through the prism of PSG, but with team selection and kind of heart in mouth, bad tackle on Saka scenarios playing out. But we will look back on the Ipswich game from... Is it yesterday now? We're recording on Monday. It's bank holiday, so it's thrown me completely. So yesterday's Ipswich game, and we're playing Palace. I guess in terms of definitions of dead rubbers, this kind of must come close. Palace are playing their FA Cup semi-final against Villa on Saturday, which is why we're playing midweek, and we're playing, that other semi-final game the following week. But we'll look ahead to Palace. It's an important game in terms of team selection. Perhaps we could wrap up Champions League qualification pretty much. I think we need 6 points to guarantee it now, before being caught, but without being caught by anybody. But look, the Ipswich game, team selections, I think I haven't looked down to see what we all predicted, but we came pretty close, I think, to the starting 11. And again, with PSG in mind, it was White, Saliba, Kivior, Zinchenko. Marino dropped back into midfield. Trossard up front. Saka and Martinelli. I was a bit surprised that Saka got the nods. I thought Ranieri would have done. I know I didn't put Rice as starting, but because Jorginho is injured, I can understand why he did start. But Steph, obviously you were at the game, so you went from the Bernabeu to. Is it Portman Road? Is that?
Sorry, I went to the Bernabeu. Didn't I mention that? Okay.
Did you not mention that? Tell us about it.
Oh, okay.
So what was that like? Was that like from the sublime to the?
Yeah, slightly dated, I think, is probably the kindest word. And look, it's a traditional old English ground with its 4 shed roofs on either side. And it was my first time there, so it was another one to tick off the list of many stadiums that I've now been to. It was actually, although I never could have dreamed of going, to places in the Champions League like I have done in the last couple of weeks. But at the same time, when the Premier League fixtures came out, it was actually the first one I circled because it's new, it's different.
It's also quite local for you, isn't it?
For me, it's probably our most local game, although actually, as the crow flies, Leicester is probably just as close and convenient, just because everywhere in Norfolk takes so long to get to, and it's so far spread out. But
how close are you to Leeds and Burnley?
Well, yeah, we'd say we're talking on Bank Holiday Monday, and earlier on, Burnley beat Sheffield United 2-1 and confirmed both Leeds and Burnley going up. I like both of those. Burnley's quite a nice day out, especially if you get it in the sunshine, although it is quite far. And as for Leeds, I mean, that's still, I've mentioned it many times before, the loudest ground Premier League I've been to. So, yeah, the Premier League is probably a better place with Leeds fans and Leeds in it. So we'll see how they go. Hopefully, they put up a better fight than this year's promoted sides, because I have to say, before the red card, Ipswich were not really up to much. Although I didn't quite clock this, because I said in mine and Chris's preview that I was quite looking forward to seeing Delap play, and he didn't. He was on the bench, and the suggestion was that basically Ipswich are now preparing for life in the Championship. They know Delap will probably be sold because he can court a high value, and that will set them up for that transition into the Championship. And
I think he's only got a 30 million fee, hasn't he? Like, is that a release clause or something?
But presumably for Ipswich and their budget, that's still good money. So, and to be honest, if you get a couple of teams in a bit of a bidding war, he's English, so he ticks that box as well. He's scored goals for a team that have really, really struggled, and that's not to be sniffed at. And there's just so much money flying around in the Premier League as well. I didn't realise this until I listened to a couple of podcasts today while working. Brighton last year were the biggest net spenders in world football. Just in that one 12-month bracket, because obviously Man City put the brakes on a little bit. I think Newcastle did as well.
Chelsea.
Even Chelsea, because Chelsea did their big splurge maybe, a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, but then since then have kind of been just floating with their 485 players that they've got.
Buying their own car parks.
Yeah, exactly, and selling themselves car parks. Selling themselves a women's team as well, that is clearly overly inflated in terms of its value, but less said about that, the better. Delap's sale will set up Ipswich going forward, and it was a bit of
he's actually 22. I didn't realise. No, that's older than I thought. I thought he was a lot younger.
Oh no,
he's 22.
Well, he's 22, but maybe slightly more proven than Butler Adeji, who we brought on late on. Who everyone's going, oh look, another Hale End prospect. I'm like, he's 22.
No, he's 21, isn't he?
I think he's 22.
Is he 22 as well?
Yeah. So unless they see something in his metrics that says he's going to be a late bloomer, I don't really know what Arsenal are going to do.
Okay, but Delap's 22, and he's just turned 22 February. But I still think that's a lot older than I thought he was by the way people were talking about him. And if you just to reference another young player, i.e. Martinelli, he's the fourth youngest to get to 50 club goals for Arsenal. Which is like brilliant. Like it's 23 years and 306 days. Can you name the three younger players?
Younger
to
Nelka.
Get to 50 club goals.
Anelka?
No.
Walcott.
Fabregas.
Theo, so you got two there. Theo's third, 23 years, 235 days. Cesc is second, 23 years, 134 days. And the youngest?
Nketiah.
No.
Wilshere.
Oh.
I've got to go back.
Far more obvious than that.
Liam Brady. What?
More recent.
Yes.
Saka.
Yes.
Well, okay.
22 years and 159 days. But we have a player in the team in the ranks who might beat that, and that's Swanieri. He's on 9 goals and he's just turned 18. So, I mean, again, luck, injury, etc. Other injuries to other players, giving him game time. Yeah, I mean, again, but even in yesterday's game, he's just so productive. Like Saka, he's just so productive. I know his goal was slightly fortuitous in terms of deflection, but he took on the shot. He created a space, took on the shot. If you don't buy the ticket, etc., etc. Sorry, Stef. Yeah, carry on. You were talking about Ipswich and Portman Road and the atmosphere and.
Yeah, it was good, and it was quite a nice setup, parking near the ground next to the station, and then in the station hotel pub where they had the away end, nice beer garden on the go, burger van, sun shining. It felt very end of season, and everyone's still absolutely beaming over the trip to Madrid. Saw a few faces that I'd met out there and saw again, so it was all good vibes.
Chris, did you actually watch the game? Did you manage to see it?
No. I was round the table for Easter Sunday with my scary family. So no.
Well,
I daren't.
I had a unique experience in that I did see the game, bobbing across the Irish Sea. The sailing was at 10-2. It docked at 4:15. Perfect. Got the 2-hour. Passage of the game. It was no commentary, which was a blessing, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But yeah, saw the game. So again, I didn't get atmosphere, didn't get anybody's observations or comments or anything like that at all. How it just looked total domination. Then if you can't beat him, hurt him approach from that player in particular, Leif Davis, who left a bit of a reducer on Trossard just before the Saka one. So clearly he was spoiling for it. Loved the old tapping their badge and clapping the crowd as he walked off and then getting a standing ovation. Chris, you messaged the group today with a Stoke light comment,
Yeah.
which was absolutely Shawcross all over it. Of course, every Arsenal fan up and down the land and world was like, "Oh crap, that's not good. Like that looks horrible, real nasty tackle." But thankfully, not only did we get the free kick, the referee gave a red card, unusually, to the opposition player. Go on, Steph.
Watching from the stands, I have to admit that when the tackle went in, yes, it was late, yes, it was a foul, but I was surprised he brought out the red. Now, obviously, since seeing it on the screen, I can see that it's really naughty and, you know, deserving of a red. That whole thing about, you know, endangering opponents and all that kind of stuff, it kind of ticks that box. And like you say, he'd been aggressive in a couple of tackles before. And the reaction to it was just, it's just disappointing because we're all for fan banter. There was lots of, you know, Ipswich saying second again to us, and we were saying about them going down and this, that and the other. But yeah, a tackle like that leaves a player on the floor and in distress to then boo that player and clap your own player off. It just, it's not ideal, is it? So won't miss the Ipswich fans for that one.
No. 4 players I do want to talk about though, and so they are Marino, Martinelli, Trossard and Kivior. I just think picking those 4 players, if we rewound to the start of the season, maybe Martinelli you could make a case for as being quite crucial and pivotal as our season comes to a quite exciting climax in the Champions League. But the other 3 you certainly wouldn't have picked as potentially critical players. Now, Trossard's the outlier there because he got his 2 goals yesterday. But look, Steph, I couldn't really tell. I must admit, I did make a comment before he scored about his, touch of he couldn't hit a barn door. His touch was like, oh, what's he doing? And then he scored. But again, scored while sat on his arse. And then he scored again. But what was his performance like in the ground and how was he received? Because Arteta was clearly playing him with a view to PSG because Partey suspended, so Marino will drop back and Trossard will play through the middle, number 9. How was his audition?
I mean, it was all right, and I worry now that I can't analyse him fairly because my view of him has been coloured by the way the season has gone, and he still plays with this kind of, petulance about him that I can't quite shake. He took his goals okay. He was sort of making the right runs, but it's such a different dynamic when he's in the team. I felt like what was more impressive from Arsenal was the link-up play on the right-hand side. So you had White overlapping, Saka coming inside and Odegaard.
They were back together.
They were back
Since
together.
November?
5th time this season they've played together, I saw earlier online. Which, I mean, that is good. I mean, Timber's naturally going to come in because I think he's just so brilliant in those duels, the 1-to-1, etc. And he's just fitter at the minute than White is. White is still building himself up. I assume that's why Saka and Martinelli played, because having had spells out, this helps them, kind of get up to speed. I know we'll get onto our teams for Palace, but clearly the substitutions are being orchestrated with all this in mind as well. So Trossard, you're absolutely right. I think most people are sort of looking at the way the midfield and the front line was set up. It was like, well, okay, let's see if we can build some rapport and rhythm and fluency ready for PSG, because the most sensible thing to do is move Marino back and put Trossard through the middle. And I get that, and that is probably what will happen.
Is there something else that you could see happening?
I also think, especially in these massive games we've had against Madrid, that Mourinho's been so good for filling that role, because he's not just playing as a centre forward, he's not running channels, he is dropping into midfield, and then that allows Rice. And I just think, I wonder, it's such a shame we don't have someone else we can play at the base of midfield, because I think not only do you... Yes, so the one thing that I would maybe ponder myself, but then I think, see, we're talking about PSG now, and we said we wouldn't. But ultimately, I mean, the only other one that I could think of would be Zinchenko at left back, Skelly into the party role, and you keep Rice and Mourinho where they've been in those big games. I
mean, he's not going to do that for the first time against PSG.
No.
So, I mean, it would catch PSG off guard, I'm sure.
But then it's
and
the risk reward.
That's Dembele against Zinchenko.
Zinchenko on that side, isn't it? Yeah. As good as Zinchenko was fine yesterday, and he played quite well. I think he was quite good in his midfield play when he moved a bit further forward. But it's just not the same, is it? So, and he's going to be up against way tougher opposition in the most in-form attacking team in Europe, in PSG. So, yeah, it was a professional performance. It was a good performance. We were fully deserving of at least 3-0, if not 4, maybe 5. So,
but Trossard has done enough to
it was okay.
Kind of cement that place against PSG in the first leg, surely.
I think yes, but it's also undermined by the fact that there's not a lot else you can do. So, yeah, it is what it is.
You referenced Mourinho there. Did we know the quality of player we got in the summer? I mean, he started off with an injury which disrupted his pre-season, a freak injury and training ground injury. He got 2 assists in the Bernabeu. He scored against Real Madrid. His assist yesterday was like a thing of beauty, and the awareness it showed. I'm putting it down as a deliberate assist. I don't know what anyone else is
I'm not sure
saying.
Mourinho's put it down as a deliberate assist. Him and Rice were laughing afterwards, celebrating.
At how good it was.
Yeah.
And but he's then, like, as someone pointed out, 30 seconds after that assist, he was defending, blocking a tackle down in the right back position. You know, he is a dual monster, but he's really coming into his own. And how again, I've not been to a game recently, so how is he playing in the flesh, like in front of you in the stadium? I mean, is he like your all-action midfielder / striker / defender?
He strikes that balance brilliantly between tenacious and persistent off the ball, and then just what seems very neat and tidy with the ball. It's that thing, that mystical thing of when you see a player and you just go, well, they've got good technical ability, and that's what he's got. I mean, the parallels between his Arsenal career and Havertz's Arsenal career shouldn't be underestimated. You know, both arrived under a little bit of a shrug of the shoulders. Okay, is that a player we really need and want, and blah, blah, blah. To then spend about 6 months not convincing people to a certain extent, albeit Mourinho had an injury and it was all a bit stop-start, to then suddenly, through one thing and another, all of a sudden become kind of integral to the team.
Become repurposed, basically.
And repurposed. But ultimately, for me, it just boils down to the fact that they are such good footballers. They're a bit like Rice. You could probably play them in most positions and they would be technically adept, because they just are very, very good footballers. They're not these sort of one-dimensional players that you might get. You know, Martinelli's probably the most specialist kind of player we've got in terms of he is a winger, and that's kind of it. At the end of the day, he can play centre forward. I know
play
as
number
well,
9, yeah,
maybe as well. But everyone else has got at least 2 positions, maybe 3 or maybe 4. You know, Ben White at fullback, kind of bought him as a centre back, and he's played defensive midfield for Brighton. So everyone's got that versatility, and Mourinho sort of
it's kind of raising the floor of our squad, isn't it?
Hugely. hugely.
Intelligence.
There's
Really,
also
that's
another
what it
player
was.
to add to your Havertz comparison. That's Xhaka as well, in that left 8 position, and how he said it took him 6 months to acclimatise and adjust to what Arteta wanted. And that's a player already in the squad, already bedded into
international.
the...
Yeah.
So again, like you say, it's not a case of... You can never have too many world-class players, It's at a time when we need it. We're shorn of a few options up front, and Mourinho has. I mean, look, I say this again. If we'd this is why I'm sat here and Arteta's sat a few miles away, but in a really, really big house. It's like if we'd signed a striker in January who was putting in this level of performance. We'd be thinking, well, that's what a great move that was, where we had this option available to us. And I think it's kind of, he's played really well as a striker, which is given him even more confidence. So then when he's drifted back into midfield, he's brought that confidence with him, and his whole game is improved. I mean, he is still, I was reading somewhere, I can't remember where, he's still on course for a similar goal and assist output for a season, but in far fewer games. So his last 2 seasons in Spain have been very similar in numbers, but in far fewer games. And obviously, I mean, I don't know, a tougher league perhaps, but playing for one of the better teams. He's been brilliant, and there's no Arsenal fan now I can hear with any negativity towards him at all. It is, we want him in the team. We want him in the starting 11. Him in the starting 11 makes us a better team. That's all you can ask for a player.
Although I mentioned it, I'm sure I'm not original in the thinking that there are Arsenal fans who are questioning whether we should move him back because of what we'll lose in that striker position, which is just mad to think, a few months ago. Well,
it's that Jorginho. If Jorginho was fit, would he play the home leg against PSG in place of Partey? I think he might. And that would leave Mourinho...
Because it's all about not taking as much away from the other chess pieces that you end up moving, isn't it?
Yeah. Like playing Partey at right back and you're missing a midfielder and a lesser right back.
Yeah.
The Lewis Skelly into midfield is the attractive one, is the appealing one, because you absolutely know he can do a job. He would be really good there. That's his kind of preferred position, if you like, or his specialist position. It's just if Calafiori plays the full game against, again, I don't even want Dembele against Calafiori either, just on pace alone. I think that would be dangerous. Zinchenko might match him for pace, but if you could merge Calafiori and Zinchenko into one player, then I might be on board with that. So I think Lewis Skelly will play left back. I think all the evidence is there from yesterday's team selection.
Is this where Tomiyasu parachutes in?
Yeah.
Trailing a red flare.
He's not even available this year.
Yeah.
It's not even this season. A poor sod.
Terrible.
It's like, you're a footballer. This is your life, your career, and he's missing out so much. It's like, it's really quite a sad story for a really nice guy as well. But it is what it is at the moment. So there's Mourinho, there's Trossard, Martinelli. Like I've already said, he's the 4th youngest player to get to 50 club goals for Arsenal, aged 23 years and 306 days. I loved his. I mean, I haven't talked about it obviously, but I loved his goal in Madrid. Like that was the 92nd minute. Or whatever it was. Yeah. No, I did. Yeah. Like his desire, his determination, and it was so deserved. And he left that, and the player he was running up against was a substitute, so he should have been fresh.
Well, that's what I was going to say. To do that sprint at that time just shows how fresh he seems at the minute.
Or determined, like his desire, and that's his attitude, and that's never been questioned. No one has ever questioned that. It's his output. And again, that's why I keep mentioning the fact he's the 4th youngest player in our history to get to 50 club goals. That's pretty impressive.
We did talk a bit about this in one of the previous pods, I can't remember which, but about timing of him coming back. that you're getting this extra energy because he's had a layoff, but you're also, it seems like he's sort of sat down and done his homework a bit because he has been more efficient, and I'm touching wood here. This continues because he does seem to have turned a bit of a corner, and I'm just hoping that, you know, he proves all the naysayers wrong, because we were all saying, well, he's flattened, you know, he's peaked, he's plateaued. Maybe that was just a mini plateau, and now he's going to kind of kick on and show us that he can produce, you know, that efficiency that we're always crediting Saka with, you know, on the other side. And similarly, I think just to link back to Marino, he had that layoff. He seems like he's running now, you know, at full fitness. So I'm just hoping, Saka as well, that we've got this final push, you know, into the crucial part of the season with some really fit, on-form players. You know, it's
well,
really
Saka
good...
should have had a hat-trick against Ipswich.
Well, he'd just been booted, to be fair, hadn't he, on the Achilles? So I
was
forgive him
so
slightly
desperate for him to score, having been booed for being kicked in the ankle, that I just but never.
And the final player I wanted to like shine a little bit of a spotlight on is Kivior. And the best thing we can say about, I know he seeded an early opportunity in the home game against Madrid, but that aside, he has been flawless. And like, how good is our backup centre back? I mean, to the point where he's adding millions to his value in the summer, and I don't want him to go. And we can have a conversation about Partey and a Partey extension. We'll save that for another podcast as well. But Kivior, like, did he ever complain? Has he ever? And he knows he's good, and he is good. And I'm not comparing him to Gabriel, but he's a top draw centre-back and would be playing regularly for most teams, not only in the Premier League, but in European football. So fair play to his attitude. That's number one. He's team first, which is absolutely was one of Arteta's non-negotiables, and that's important to acknowledge. But his quality is... And for me, Kivior and Saliba will play every minute together for as long as we're still in the Champions League, because they just want to improve, bed in. So how is, again, not having been at any of the games recently and kind of seeing, you know, games from a distance on the TV screen, how has Kivior played in the stadium? How has he come across, and has he got a song?
Well, I was literally just going to say, because I knew you would sort of come to us eventually, that he did, yesterday at Ipswich. Now, it's not original. It's the Casey and the Sunshine Band, Baby Give It Up one. No, that one. But Jakub
You'll have to get...
No, I'm all right today. I did all my singing last time out after Madrid. I'm a bit sung out for that. So, yeah, the fact that he's getting that feeling, that positive feeling reciprocated by the fans, you know, we are so appreciative of what he's done, because like you say, the psychology of, you know, a player who is essentially a backup, because Gabriel and Saliba are so good, your mind tells you that maybe the level below is a lot greater than it actually is. It's just a perspective thing, because he is actually at a very, very high level. I've been so impressed with his calmness under pressure. That brilliant clip of him holding off Endrick and sort of nodding the ball back to Raya, just to do that in the Bernabeu is unreal. And even against Ipswich, you know, everything was professional, you know, shepherding his men out. He's not flustered, and he's not a screamer, you know, Chiellini style like Gabriel is. And he just keeps things simple. He's got that same sort of technical ability I mentioned about Marino as well. Yeah, he's a very, very good centre-back. And having that balance, the left footer and the right footer, just works.
I mean, the only thing he's missing is the goal threat from our corners.
Yeah, right. So it was noticeable yesterday, the amount of corners that were going short. The front line, obviously, is a lot shorter when... Trossard's not in it, and then later on I think Marino was one of the first to get substituted, if I remember rightly. So again, you're losing a little bit of height there. So Odegaard and Rice just kept going short and trying to work like little patterns off there. And what I also noticed with them, there would be 2 or 3 players stationed at the edge of the box. So you've got you've still got Saliba and Kivior trying to make a run in the centre if a cross has to be put in. But essentially, I can't remember who exactly, but Martinelli and one other, Zinchenko, or whoever it was, would be on the edge of the box to maybe try and strike a ball so that there's options there. And I do wonder if that's because, Gabriel is such a threat and he draws such an opponent, even with Partey out as well, who's often in the mix of things for set pieces, that they're clearly arranging themselves accordingly to the personnel that we have or don't have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He must have been under a lot of pressure. Well, one would assume he was under a fair degree of pressure, knowing what other people were thinking, like you've just alluded to, replacing Gabriel. I mean, that in itself. But the guy's a seasoned international footballer. Like, he's quite experienced. And so, again, we'll come to a podcast where we'll talk through the squad player by player. But, I know we could probably command a reasonable fee for him. And he might want to go, and we might respect that. And that's fair enough. But we have to replace him. And I know there's a kid coming through, but he's only 15. I'm going to keep banging on about him when I get his name right. Marley Salmon, I think his name is. But anyway, can't put that pressure on him. But we will need to replace him. We can't count on Tomiyasu, obviously. So, who plays? Instead of Gabriel, who plays? If Kivior's gone, we need a replacement. So that's the guy at Ajax, isn't it? Is it Hato, yeah, possibly. Or Huysen.
But then of that calibre to come in and be, again, like you said, a number 2 to Gabriel, and centre halves are that position that rarely changes, and once you've got an established 2, it's very hard to break them up. And is he going to want to come from Bournemouth, where he's the kind of...
He's very young. He's only 19.
Sure.
I think he's only 19 anyway, so he's still very young. So I did read that he wants to stay in the Premier League, because I know Real Madrid are rumoured to be interested. But I did read somewhere that he wants to stay in the Premier League for now. Liverpool's the obvious thing, but Van Dijk signing a 2-year
right. So it's the same issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of saying, well,
there's the rumours about Gabriel and Saudi, isn't there, as well? So we could, sell Gabriel for 100 million and pick up this guy for half that price. But I'm not saying we do that. No, to get to anybody asking for Gabriel. The only other player I want to ask about, Steph, is Ødegaard. How did he play?
I thought he played well. He needed to pull the trigger a little bit more in the first half, and his finishing is not as sharp as it probably was. There was a great shot he had late on that I think forced the save.
Hit the post.
Off the post.
Off the post, was it? Okay,
inside of the post, yeah.
There you go then. So, it's there, and that sharpness is certainly coming back. I noticed at some points he was dropping a little bit deeper, and ultimately like we mentioned earlier, his relationship with White and Saka on the right is good. Again, I noticed it more in the Bernabeu because we were so high up. What he gives you without the ball is irreplaceable. No one presses like him. And he's the same, whether we're playing Ipswich, whether we're playing in the Champions League, he's relentless. And that allows us to play on the front foot that little bit more, or at least force the opposition back, if they do have the quality to play out. And yes, I'm sure lots of people would like a few more assists or goals, and he's had an injury hit season. He's had a season of illness. He's become a dad for the first time. So the context is there to explain a drop off, but his drop off is still at an incredibly high level. I thought he was good. He was okay.
I just think we will need him more productive in the final third with the ball to get past PSG.
As we will all of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So he's the one player that probably didn't get the plaudits in Madrid, or even in the home game. The one player that kind of slipped below their own potential or their own high standards, if you like. And that's fine. We're not saying we carried him at all. It's not that bad. 5-1 aggregate win against Madrid, winning home and away against Madrid. It does, you can't say that too many times. It's great. Like home and away against Madrid, we won. I'm loving all these fans with this revisionism. Oh, Madrid, they're crap. They're nowhere near. Whereas 2 weeks earlier, you're going to get hammered by Madrid. They're going to beast you. Like, well, which is it? Like,
I like the fact I'm hearing stuff about, Champions League's rubbish this year. Oh, yeah. Rubbish. Like, yeah, because you're not in it. That's why you're saying that.
I always said the best teams get into the semi-finals. Always. Never said it was a cup competition, and I don't rate it ever. When we weren't in it. Right, so look, anything else you want to say about the Ipswich game? It leaves us second place, 66 points, 7 points clear of Newcastle, who have now been, in the process of being leapfrogged by Forest, who are 2-0 up, I think, still at Spurs, which is
very
good.
much so. Do you want Forest? Oh no, because it's not our game. I won't rub it. It's a real smash and grab. When you look at the stats for Forest against Tottenham.
It wasn't after 25 minutes. They were like
no, but that's
3 or 4
sort of the point as well. And someone's just posted online, to dare is to boo, because I think the Spurs fans have been booing them. I love Tottenham. They're so funny.
I mean, there's not enough spoken about this.
They are awful. They're having the worst Premier League season ever.
Mark Goldbridge said something that was quite funny. He said that the 3 teams who came up are just on a stadium tour for the season, and they go back down again, and 3 more teams will come up and they'll be on their stadium tour and go back down again. So he said what you really need to do is look at the team who's in 17th position. They are the worst team in the Premier League. So, okay, that's West Ham at the moment, but that has at various points in the last couple of weeks been Spurs and Manchester United.
Spurs' next 2 games, Liverpool,
away,
where Liverpool could win the title, and then West Ham. So that's a 17th place 6-pointer.
Amazing.
It's just so frustrating that the teams have come up a crap because Spurs...
Imagine Spurs getting relegated.
And Spurs and United on 37 and 38 points.
Yeah, awful.
Like
they are awful.
Not enough is... Like, can you imagine that was Arsenal?
I know.
There'd be broken cannons everywhere.
But because they're both still in the Europa League, imagine these 2 teams in the Champions League next year. I mean, it makes a mockery.
Thankfully, only one of them will be.
I don't. Please, I cannot believe Leon did that to me.
No. I'm way more worried about Spurs. I don't want Spurs anywhere near a trophy. If United win a trophy, whatever. If anything, going into the Champions League probably creates more headaches for them because they'll still think they're the big I am. They'll still overspend. They'll have Champions League money, and they'll still get it massively wrong. Whereas
you want
Spurs,
to see Ange next year?
Yes, that's exactly it.
You want more
Ange for another year. Yeah,
I don't think. Yeah. I think they're keeping him in for the current continuity. He goes whatever happens. It's untenable. He hates the fans. The fans hate him. It's
beautiful.
Brilliant. It's brilliant to watch.
It's a thing of beauty. It's art.
It is art at this point.
That's why I want it to carry on, though.
Yes, I know. If you could guarantee... Listen, this is the question. It's like, United v Spurs in the Europa League final. We have to not want, that's the wrong word, obviously, but we have to want one of them to lose less, I guess, would be one way.
I want Spurs to win the least. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, see, I'm the other way around. I think that matches my just deep-seated trauma with United over the years, whereas Spurs have been a source of fun and comedy primarily over the years. So,
although, do you know what I found out earlier? If Arsenal win the Champions League and Spurs win the Europa League, the Super Cup will be a North London derby, and the match will be in Udine in Italy. So Spurs away.
But if there's any Spurs fan listening, first of all, why? But secondly, would a Spurs fan want Arsenal, the condition? Would they want their own club to win the Europa League if it meant Arsenal winning the Champions League? Because I mean, I wouldn't know because
Put it this way: if it was the other way round, I wouldn't want it.
Oh, I would, because it gives us a trophy and into the Champions League the following season. Yeah.
No. It would be bad enough.
Okay, this is a podcast on its own.
Yeah, it would be bad enough with Spurs winning the Europa League, but the Champions League is obviously so much better. not having that. And if it's a case of, oh, well, if they win the Champions League, we win the Europa League, I don't care about the Europa League. Like,
do you know what? I think in the summer we need to do a Would You Rather episode, okay? Which gets more and more ridiculous about what would you eat at the Emirates at half time? Would you rather eat
snail?
I like it. We'll take listener suggestions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just give us a Would You Rather.
This
and we'll try
we need
and
to build from now.
Right, we'll build up to. This is the real climax of the season. That podcast, not the Champions League final. Right.
That's our Champions League.
That is our Champions League. Would you rather? Right. Okay. I'm starting to think about that. Okay. Good. Anything else to say on Ipswich?
Nah.
No.
Okay.
See you later, guys. We'll never play there again.
Yeah. Good. Enjoy your championship. Championship season next season again
against Norwich.
Right. Palace. Palace on Wednesday, 8:00 kickoff. I think. First of all, either of you two going?
Nope. Back to work.
No, not me. I won't ask you about next week. We'll save that. Palace play. This has got to be the biggest, and I really hope that there's some back channel conversations taking place where this game on Wednesday becomes the first Premier League game in history to have a no contact game, right?
The first
Not one tackle.
First game, 0 tackles.
0 tackle, no tackle.
So every player can say they won 100% of their tackles because there weren't any.
Because Palace are playing the FA Cup semi-final against Villa at 5:15 on Saturday. That is they're completely safe in the league, like comfortably safe. I mean, even United and Spurs can't get near them in the league table. And so this is a massive game against Villa, who are on fantastic form themselves, Villa, by the way. 5 straight wins. Obviously, they've just gone out to PSG, but like glorious failure in that sense. They won on the night.
Newcastle this weekend.
Yeah. Was it 4?
The first half an hour, they were irresistible. It was amazing.
And so Palace against Villa in the FA Cup semi-final. I mean, I want Palace to win. It's just the underdog, and they did beat. Who did they beat? They lost to United in an FA Cup final. Did Palace beat anyone in a cup final? Am I missing something?
They've never won a major trophy.
No,
that's
right,
the point.
So exactly, they lost to United in a FA Cup final. I'd just like them to win. So listen, they don't want to. I mean, I can't be really interested to see what kind of team they put out. I looked. They drew 0-0 with Bournemouth this weekend.
I watched half of that.
Had a player set up, but they played a strong team.
But nothing happened.
No way they're gonna.
Nothing happened.
No.
I was actually disappointed that Bournemouth couldn't do anything because it was such a pathetic game. It's the worst game I've seen this year.
So I'm hoping that it's like it could not be more of a dead rubber. It doesn't matter in the league to us, doesn't matter in the league to them. What matters more than anything is no player gets injured. Now, it's a really dangerous mindset to enter a game with, like worrying about a tackle, picking up, and you're guaranteed to pick up an injury in that sense. So the players will play the game normally, I'm sure. I don't know, but every fan sitting on the edge of their seat thinking, oh, don't tackle him. But anyway, it is what it is. We're playing them on Wednesday. It does give us, is it 6 days off? Is it Tuesday? Next week it is Tuesday. PSG. So it gives us 6 days, which is a nice little break ahead of the PSG game, which is good. Chris, what team do you think Arteta will play?
Well, I think for me, it was the first thing I thought was, is he going to start with a stronger team and then sub them off as he did yesterday? Or is he going to start with a kind of more of a second string and then bring on the Sakas for their kind of final 25-minute, greasing the cogs kind of thing?
What would you do? What do you think he'll do?
I've gone, well, it's a toss of a coin, to be honest with you. And I think because he did on yesterday, he did the former, I think he'll go with the latter, purely as a kind of, like I said, it's a flip of a coin. So I'm just going with a slightly more kind of rotated team. So here goes, written on the back of an envelope, literally. Raya, White, Saliba, Kivior. I've put Tierney at left back and Zinchenko right 8, with Partey anchoring, with Marino left 8, and then up front, Nwaneri, Trossard, and Sterling. But that is the caveat there is any one of those, the front line particularly, will get rotated out, and there'll be sort of formational shifts just to get everyone in kind of, like I said, just to get them the juices flowing for next week.
Okay, Steph.
Yeah, so same sort of reasoning, but maybe slightly different sort of players and individuals. And I think he will set up strong, but in maybe a slightly different way. So I've got Raya in goal. I've got Timber, Saliba, Kivior, and Lewis Skelly. So I think he's going to go with that. That's pretty much the first choice back five. Midfield three of Zinchenko, Partey, and Marino. So he's getting Marino used to that midfield position, but he's basically giving something of a rest, fewer minutes to Rice and Odegaard. And then a front line of Waneri, Trossard, and Sterling. So that, again, it's Rice, Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli are the ones that come out, who will definitely come on
minutes.
Again, just to get those minutes and keep ticking over.
I've only got one player different to that, Steph. I've got the same back five. I've got Partey, Marino. I say he'll start Odegaard because I think about the confidence of a goal or an assist. You know, I want. It's a personal thing. I want Odegaard back on form productively with the ball in the attacking third. I think we'll need it. And I think I asked you how he played against Ipswich. You said he played really well. He got an assist. He got an assist for the first goal, which kind of just bounced off him.
Yeah.
Took the assist off Saka. And he hit the inside of the post with a shot. I just want him to have the confidence of a goal behind him going into the PSG game. That's just it. So that's the only difference I've made. And I've got a front three of Waneri, Trossard, and Sterling. Marino, again, like you say, in midfield. Trossard up front to get used to that. And I think he, as you said, the big guns will come on for the last 20, 25 minutes. Yeah. I think that's what we'll do. Chris, score.
3-0.
3-0. Ooh.
I just don't feel. I don't think Palace are going to bring much to the party at all. I think they're just damage limitation, get through it.
Yeah, I don't think I can't see Eze starting the game. You know, I just there's no incentive. What incentive do they have to go for a win there? They just don't.
Well, not to go for a win, but like us, it will be about managing minutes. So players will feature, but not necessarily all together and with a certain mindset. You would assume.
I mean, you get, I don't know how much it is, £1 million a place in the Premier League. So they are, I'm looking at the table, they are on 44 points. Bournemouth and 8th are on 49 points. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's like 5 or 6 places. So it could be £5 or £6 million in prize money. I'm just looking for reasons why they'd...
But the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, all day long. Like, yeah. Okay, Steph, score.
1-0 to the Arsenal.
I've said 2-0 to the Arsenal.
2-0.
I don't think there'll be many goals in it. I think Palace will kind of just defend. I don't think they'll
I did wonder about giving Palace one only because of Nketiah's return. But
you'd like him to score?
I know. I didn't say that. I said narratively, the player coming back to their former club.
He'll play. I'm sure he'll play.
Yeah.
Oh, Spurs have scored.
No, boom.
Richarlison, he still plays there.
Plays.
I wonder if Ange applauded the crowd in that kind of ironic way.
He obviously brought him off the bench,
time.
yeah.
Well,
I was just celebrating. What's wrong with that?
I've already seen Spurs fans saying that they're going to be happy to lose to Liverpool at the weekend because it will confirm us not getting the title. I mean, sums you up.
And because they will have to do a guard of honour or something.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I
actually got an email earlier saying that I'm confirmed for Liverpool away, which I was all excited about earlier in the season.
Are you going to the PSG home game?
Yes. Of course I am.
Well, it's a school night, Steph.
Yeah, but it's at home, so I can get back at a reasonable hour. I did definitely look up the AA route planner to Paris to see whether it could be done, but no, that would be ridiculous. Sure.
You're just not saying it on the record because you're going to feel ill. You feel an illness coming on for the next day, whatever date that is. 2nd of May, is it 2nd of May?
Yep, we'll see. I'm not going to Paris.
No. Right,
But I'm
okay.
definitely doing the home game. Come on. It's going to be so big. The atmosphere, Madrid home, was like nothing else, and it was so sustained as well. So we need to do the same again.
Yeah,
Players fed off it, so let's go.
It's a similar kind of setup. I think we're underdogs. I think PSG are favourites. I think I've heard most people say that PSG are the best team left in the tournament, that they're playing the best football, they're the most complete team. But Villa showed you can get at them. And there was that like phase in the first half in the home game against Madrid where it was clear, you could see it. The Madrid players, like as one, suddenly thought, oh, they're better than we thought they were. At the same time as the Arsenal players, as one, thought, oh, they're not as good as we thought they were. And that was it. It was just a complete shift. And you could see that the respect we'd shown Real Madrid, sod that, and we went for it. Second half. And it was, as Jude Bellingham said, they were lucky with 3.
They were lucky to get 1 over the 2 games.
Yeah, it could have been 2-3-0s, couldn't it? Like Saka and Saliba aside. But again, Saka's not going to do that penalty again, and Saliba's not going to make that mistake again. So brilliant time to make those mistakes, just to kind of keep you switched. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Learn from that mistake when you win a game 5-1 or a tie 5-1. Anyway, right.
What are you thinking?
We can't avoid Champions League talk, and why should we? It's our 3rd ever Champions League semi-final, so it's like we need to be enjoying it and looking forward to it and celebrating it, because who knows when it comes around again. Anyway, next season. But there you go.
Did any of you guys see the little clip of Gabriel celebrating the goal with all his family surrounded, the Arsenal kits on? We talked about him possibly getting, twerking at Saudi, but when you see images like that, it just kind of fills you with that hope of thinking, no, this means more to him. And, there's all the kids and the aunties and everyone around him with the Arsenal shirts on. It just, I don't know, maybe I'm a softie, but it just made me think, oh, surely, Gabby, you love us too much to...
But I also remember when Kivior played earlier in the season, there was a game where Gabriel was in his civilian clothes, just jacket and jeans and everything like that, and literally came onto the pitch to like.
That was the Madrid game.
Was it the Madrid game?
The home game, yeah, it was the home game.
And they're just.
He was so pleased for him.
Yeah, they're so bonded as a team that I think that will carry masses of help. It made me think, you mentioning that Gabriel video has reminded me that it made me think of when Perez broke his leg.
Yeah.
And then basically everyone wanted to include him as part of the celebrations because he had obviously contributed massively to the title that we won that season. But
did they all line up on the podium?
Yeah, they
all
bowed to him. We're not worthy and all that. Yeah, exactly. And it's like Gabriel is the equivalent of that. We know he's out for the season because of his hamstring, but he's been monumental in getting us to where he's got us to.
Yeah, he's part of our story for the last
massively
3 or 4 seasons. So yeah, it's more than just another player.
Rumours that Havertz could be back for a final.
Yeah,
if we get to one.
Training like a beast, apparently, in the gym.
The question was
visiting
posed.
witch doctors and drinking horse placenta.
Yeah. Sold his soul to the devil.
I mean, there's one school of thought that says he could be available for the second leg in the semi-final.
From the bench, maybe.
Well, it'd be good again just to have him
as
on
an
the
option.
bench.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he has scored a Champions League final winner.
You tease.
You little tease. Look at that. 54 minutes and that's when you bring that in.
Just build you up and walk away. Anything else to say, guys?
I think that's the high.
Oh, well, yeah, we should probably finish on a high, but we should also reference the fact that Arsenal women played their first leg Champions League semi-final at the weekend, and despite having an array of chances, ended up losing the game 2-1, which was a shame because going to Lyon is going to be incredibly difficult. But you never know. No one really expected them to beat Madrid 3-0, having lost the first leg 2-0. So Good
But
luck to
they
them.
can take confidence from the amount of chances they created.
A lot of
That if they do that again, chances are they'll not miss as many again.
Yeah.
Although it is kind of a recurring theme for them. They do create a host of chances, and they're not clinical enough. They'll rue those missed chances, Chris.
Yeah, where have we heard that before?
Just like the
No
men's
idea.
team, are they missing that clinical striker?
Chris, we haven't argued about why we keep drawing games.
Yeah, why do the women keep losing? I don't know.
They don't score enough.
Clearly.
Right, okay. Brilliant. Nice to be back. Good chat. It's all positive. It's all upbeat. Let's keep that going. Let's keep this these positive vibes, this crest of a wave we're riding. Let's keep that going. Keep that going at another few weeks yet. Come on. Anyway, we'll be back at some point over the weekend, looking back at the Palace game very briefly, but really looking forward to PSG in the Champions League the following Tuesday. So thank you very much for the chat. Thank you for listening. Have a great few days wherever you are and whatever you're up to, and we'll see you next time. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Hey. Ooh, do we wave?
He's waving.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at NorthBankPod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.